Greetings and peace. I hope you and yours are doing well today, wherever you might be watching this from. Now, this will be basically the final Masonic education video that I do in terms of addressing anything Freemasonry related, as going forward in the future, I will not be addressing Freemasonry ever again on my channel, and will make videos pertaining to Islam, spiritual topics, Sufism, and that of the sort. Now, the title of this video will be My Masonic Journey from 2016 through 2023. In 2016, when I was 23 years old, that's when I was first entered into the Brotherhood, entered, passed, and raised to the sublime degree of a Master Mason. Of course, even before that, you're first made a Mason in your heart, so that's something that no one can ever take away from me. The real initiation happens from the heart, and that's between me and Allah, the grand architect of the universe. And that's basically it. That's my path. Ever since high school, ever since as a child, I was always curious about the unknown. Why are we here? What happens to us after we leave? Where were we before we came here? God, life, purpose, humanity, race, religion, all of that in between. When I was in 9th grade, a great Sufi friend of mine introduced me to the concept of Freemasonry. He said, Salman, have you ever looked into Freemasonry? I said, no. And at that time, YouTube was fairly new, and I didn't know much about Freemasonry. So I started looking at all the videos, and of course, the conspiracy stuff comes along with it too, and other stuff that comes along with it. So as time went on, I finished school, and the adult life came, and I went to college, worked, and managed a business and all that in between. So fast forward, when I graduated high school in 2011 to the fall of 2015, when I was working a summer job, and a Jamaican man came to my summer job, and he was wearing the square and the compass. And I knew the concept of to be one, ask one, the cliche saying. And I asked him, I said, I'm interested. And as time went on, we became friends, and it was, I believe it took me 6 or 7 months after, because he was testing me and trying me. So this is basically the concept of an old school way of joining the Brotherhood, where it's not like these days where they just make anybody a Mason just to sustain the organization, anybody with a pulse who can pay dues. So he was really looking for that quality, since he was from that part of the world where they do not let any average person into the Brotherhood, especially in the Caribbean and the other places which still follow the old customs. So as time went on, he was impressed with my character and humility and my connection with God and being good to self and others, and he brought me a petition for the lodge, right? So, and I went through the process, the interview, being vouched for, and then the time came when I was entered into the Brotherhood, into the entered apprentice degree. And when I went to the Grand Lodge that day, and keep in mind, I'm not going to mention any specific names here. So those that know my background, they already know. So there's that. So when we sat at the dinner right before the meeting happened, or the ceremony happened, I was impressed because I saw all different races and religions getting along and breaking bread together. And I thought this was that concept of brotherhood under the fatherhood of God. Then an older past master who saw my naivete told me that, hey, Sal, people are still going to be people, and to not take it literally or to take it to face. And yep, that's exactly what I did. And I was really impressed with it, because I was initiated, passed, and raised by a Jewish past master as a Muslim. And to see Christians, Muslims, and Jews come together, for me, this was the concept of what Islam taught me in Surah 2, verse 62, that it doesn't matter what religion you are, as long as you're a good, righteous person, then God will have mercy on you, for you and your family on the day of judgment, and in this human life. So as time went on, I started attending the meetings. I had perfect attendance for the stated and extra meetings. I even became junior deacon, and I faithfully served that role for 2 years without missing any meeting. And as time went on, I started to see a lot of the real faces. Because in the beginning, everyone is nice no matter where you go. But, once they get you in a certain organization or a certain group, then over time you start seeing people's true faces and how they act on social media versus how they act on real life. And even the concept of these egregores that start coming into your life, which I've addressed in a previous video, where I noticed where since I had joined Freemasonry, my health was declining, I was gaining weight, my finances were declining, I was having medical issues, work issues, financial issues. And keep in mind, I was still ignoring all of that. I'm like, you know what, maybe it's just something else. And I was attending all of the stuff. I was joining all of the appendant bodies and attending all of the meetings, being a faithful lodge officer and all that, writing articles, being published in several Masonic magazines across different jurisdictions, giving lectures in person, online, and all that in between. I was doing everything. You name it, I was there, right? So as time went on, I started to see a lot of the real faces and the egregore that popped up along with it. And then one day I just realized that, what is any of this for? It's like a hamster in a wheel, where you have a lot of the higher ups that kind of just deal with their own, stick with their own, they have their own reality. And you have the guys on the bottom who are, regardless of if they're paying dues, or lodge officers and doing what they're supposed to do. Number one, they don't have any esoteric or spiritual knowledge to offer me. I was way above them. Not saying to brag or to belittle anyone, but those guys at the level that I was operating on, they didn't have anything to offer me. And the stuff that you're taught in the degrees is just basic common knowledge that all religions and philosophies and paths are already teaching you. Yeah, the ceremony is nice and it's there to make an impression about belonging to something, but it's like what it said, you're already a Mason in your heart. So I see a lot of these guys which I fought against, and they were making anti-Islamic posts online, and even in lodge they would make like snide remarks and passive-aggressive behavior that a lot of the white brothers do. And I complained about that. They didn't care, and I fought back against it. And now you see many of the Grand Lodges adopting the social media policy. Because when I had left, I made these articles that went viral in the Masonic world, and I kind of showed them the mirror, that look yourself in the mirror, this is what you're doing. And that introduced the social media policy in a lot of jurisdictions, since I kind of made a splash by jumping into the ocean. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. And I hope I was able to make a difference in that regard. But it's just, the brotherhood is basically the teachings that it's offering you. It's all good and fine in terms of the philosophical stuff, but it's infiltrated and compromised in terms of a lot of these guys that belong to chaos orders, other orders which they don't publicly reveal, and those egregores are brought into the lodges and affects the other members. And those that know, they know. I don't need to explain that to them. And when I had left in 2018, I had departed, and I noticed something in my life immediately. My health started getting better. My finances started getting better. I started feeling more healthier, more mentally aware. I was sleeping better. So all of that changed overnight. So when you're not basically an active member anymore, then that egregore kind of removes itself from your life. And keep in mind, you have to demit in good standing for you to back away from that energy and walk away with your honor intact. So I was able to do that, and I made sure I made them give me my demit certificates. And it's unfortunate because you're just paying to have friends. That's what a lot of these fraternities are. Because when you're a part of them, it's like a cult mentality. They're liking all of your social media posts. They're contacting you. They're trying to meet you in person. It's all of that, right? So you feel really good about it. Hey, I got friends, I got brothers. But as soon as I left, stop liking the social media posts, stop contacting me. It's like they were never there. So you're basically paying for friends. And this is something that I realize now. And so I took a year off in 2018. I just left everything, received my demits and all that, walked away with my honor. And then there was a gentleman from a European country who started getting in touch with me. He said, hey, I know about your story, and we need a good man like you in the Brotherhood. I don't want you to leave. So this is like me. I honestly gave the Brotherhood an honest chance. I've been in for like 8 years. And I went to this country in 2019. I rejoined over there. And then it's just like how it was before. They're all nice and happy in the beginning, and they're welcoming you. And as time goes on, you feel good about it, and they're welcoming you, and they're being good to you. But as time goes on, little by little, then you start seeing their true faces. And again, I left them. Then I came back. I demitted from that part of the world. Then I came back to America. Just look at my dedication, me traveling to another country just to rejoin and attend a lodge meeting. And me coming back here, and I rejoined here in America. So I'm like somebody who's giving like an abusive partner chance after chance. Hey, baby, please come back. And then they end up doing the same shit over and over again. But I gave it an honest chance. And then I came back, I rejoined over here, and again, it was the same song and dance. The egregore comes back in your life, things start declining for you mentally, physically, financially, health-wise. You see the same bullshit of the higher-ups sticking for their own, dealing with their own. Certain circles and appendant bodies where you cannot petition to, but you have to be invited. People being given the 33rds who don't deserve it, but it's all politics. In terms of spiritual and esoteric knowledge, they had nothing to offer. And as time went on, I kind of sensed the same vibe that these people were talking about me behind my back. They were doing other stuff. Keep in mind, I'm somebody who's been published in magazines. I even been on that Fox Nation interview inside the Freemasons with my YouTube and online and in-lodge presentations. I taught, educated, and gave awareness to the Freemasons. I did a lot for these guys in terms of the Masonic Brotherhood. People emailed me, so many people all over the world, hey, I petitioned the lodge because of you, and you changed my mind about this. Even with the Islamic community, these guys, unfortunately, the Western Masons were never going to talk about Islam and Masonry. Now, whoever Googles it or YouTubes it, they'll find my work. I put it out there because these guys, with their bias, they were never going to touch that. In terms of how the egregore affects you, they were never going to talk about that. And that's where I came in. I believe God used me for a purpose to learn all of this stuff and put it out there for the people. And again, recently I demitted. And this time I demitted for good. So I'm not going to make this mistake again. I learned what I could from them, and it was knowledge that I already had. Since the very beginning, they didn't offer me anything new. I, in return, was able to teach and educate them because these guys don't know anything. It's just like any other fraternity, full of bullies and people in positions who don't deserve to be there. And you're basically paying for friends. And these guys don't want anything to do with you outside of those specific events. So it's all a kind of a deception. And this is why I say this is my final quote-unquote Masonic education video, and everything from now on will be focused strictly on Islam and Sufism and other spiritual and philosophical topics. And that's what it is. See, right now, it's with any organization. The modern generation, the world is changing in the age of chaos from 2020 through 2029. And the most people right now, they're worrying about money, housing, relationships, medical, education. They're barely surviving on their own. That's why people are just raging everywhere. So they don't have time for any organization who's offering this kind of BS. There are good Masons too. Don't get me wrong. I'm not painting everyone with a broad brush, but it's like looking for a needle in a haystack. And that's the unfortunate truth. The young people of today, they're not going to tolerate this kind of behavior from anyone. As we see, they're quick to walk away from any job or organization which does not practice what they preach. And in terms of the Grand Lodge system in the Western world, I believe they're going to die off on their own within the next 10 to 20 years. So by the late 2030s, these guys will be out of commission because they need members to sustain their organizations. And if people don't want nothing to do with them, especially in the online age where you have a magnitude of knowledge just at your fingertips with podcasts, with knowledge, and you have these other Masons now that are coming together without the approval of any Grand Lodge, who are making their own independent platforms, publishing podcasts, books, YouTube channels, and all that in between. Because the emperor, who doesn't want to change their clothes, is not giving them any freedom, and they're deciding to take that initiative into their own hands. So within the next 10 to 20 years, what's going to happen is Freemasonry is going to go back to that pre-1717 initiative, where people are going to be dealing with their own independent lodges or independent journeys without the hierarchy of anyone that's not there to serve their higher good. And most people don't want to tolerate bigoted or racist behavior, or people who are pretending to be your friends but are basically deceptive and two-faced in many ways, claiming to be good people. So, and on top of that, there's the occult concept of the egregore that comes into your life. So in terms of my journey right now as a almost 32-year-old man, I believe I've been able to contribute. I contributed a lot to this brotherhood. I gave them more than what they gave me. And I'm at that point where I believe I find it necessary to put this information out there. And that's exactly how one should do it. The concept of trusting God always, being made a Mason in your heart, and then the knowledge and the light that I have, that's something that no one can ever take away from me. And I don't need the validation or the approval of the haters, right? And I kind of been there, done that. It has nothing to offer me. I've seen it from the inside out in more than one country and jurisdiction, gave it multiple chances, explored all of the orders and lodges and bodies and all of that in between. So that's, I've seen it, and I would tell you to just establish your own personal relation with self, God, and humanity and others. You don't need to be subservient to any organization where you always have to tiptoe. Oh, I got to be careful what I do. I got to be careful what I say. If that's the case, then those are not your people. Where it's just like the hypocrisy, right? You're paying for friends as soon as you disappear. And even with good standing, then all of a sudden, it's like a very cultish kind of mentality. Everything just goes blank, right? No likes, no messages. It's like they never existed in the first place. And your trust should be in God, and you should do what's always right for you and your family. And right now I'm recovering from the egregore, where my health is getting back in order, my finances are getting back in order, and I'm just recovering slowly. And I've did some spiritual work as well to banish all of the egregores from my life, and I'm doing much better in my life. And I hope this video serves as an education and as a warning to people that you learn from my experiences. And I hope the light and knowledge that I've been able to give you has helped you in your life. Again, Freemasonry, in terms of its philosophical concepts about being good, upright, connecting with God, loving each other, regardless of race or religion, that's already taught in other philosophies and religions which predate Freemasonry. So it's not like they're giving you anything special or exclusive. And with the way the condition of the world is today, an organization like that to exist, who claim to be all good and holier than thou and helping people and helping the world, why is there still human suffering? So think about that. The real change starts with you. And a lot of these organizations are infiltrated by people who don't belong there in the first place. And this is what George Washington complained about as well. And I believe within the next 10 to 20 years, it's going to return to that pre-1717 form, as everything will die out on its own to make change for the new world and the new age that lays ahead in terms of AI, technology, the internet, and so on and so forth. So to keep my video short and to the point within the 20-minute time frame, I hope you benefited. And again, I won't ever address Freemasonry again on this channel ever again. And I hope you benefited. Those that are watching my channel or stuck by me that are Masons, I hope you understand where I'm coming from. And I hope you continue to stick by me in what I offer in the future. Thank you. And I wish you and yours a wonderful rest of the summer ahead.